my name is Jeremy. I'm a fabricator and mechanic, and I am on a journey to build a 1937 Auto Union Type C. In this episode, we're going to be lofting out the lines of the car on these two pieces of plywood that I've already painted white. Let's get to it. So, what is lofting? As far as I know, it's a nautical term. I found out about it through the Tally-Ho project. Leo is restoring a boat, and one of the things he had to do was loft out the entire thing, which basically, my understanding anyway, is you take your paper plans, your drawings, and you blow them up to full scale. That way you can make templates off of them, and you can get an idea of exactly the size of whatever it is you're working on. So you can imagine he's working on I think it's almost 50-foot long boat. It's a very large lofting floor. For us, we're going to be working on this car, which will fit on this 4-foot by 16-foot long floor that I have here. For this car, we're going to blow it up to 110%. Which makes the wheelbase 126 inches, makes the height of the body at the headrest 38 inches, which will be very close to being able to fit a roll bar with enough safety room. Be safe, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. So what we're going to do is I have line drawings of the Type C, 1936/37, and I went into Photoshop and I put a grid pattern over them. And this is blown up to 1/24th scale, which means this little 1/4-inch grid pattern will translate into 6-inch squares on this full-size lofting floor. So what we'll do is we'll mark out our grid pattern, and then we'll be able to transfer all the drawings to this in full size, and we'll be able to make everything else for the car body-wise off of that. So we'll be able to make all of the templates for the buck, and anything else that we need to know, we can take measurements off of this. So we'll have one of the car in profile, one from the top down or bottom up. It's the same. We don't really care. We just want this shape. What is best about this line drawing are these. These are basically the same as on a boat. What would you call these stations? This drawing actually gives us stations for these various points along the body, which means we'll be able to cut those out and then draw between them, or once we start making the buck, just make a cardboard template between these 6 stations, and we can fill in all of the 3-dimensional shape of the car based off of these 3 sets of drawings. I'm very excited because this is the most important thing we need to do right now, so we can start ironing out for sure the layout of the car, because we have to know this size. Because unlike if we were just building a car to have a cool car and a cool project, because we're building a historical replica, everything is dictated by this. We have to fit everything inside this shell. So let's start laying lines out and we'll go from there. Holy guacamole. Sorry, not showing up real well, but we have an 4 foot by 16 foot grid laid out in 6-inch squares. The long lines are offset 3 inches because the car fits better that way. What would be vertical lines in this view are normal, so they start at 6, 12, 18, etc. These ones start at 3 and go up. I have to tell you though, I underestimated this pretty dramatically. So, like I said, I got this from the Tally-Ho project. Leo did a really good explanation of lofting out boats. So I'm doing a very similar idea in that we will be laying out all the lines of the car on here. I have a bunch of stations and stuff. However, this took me like 3 hours, probably 4 actually, to just paint these and get the lines on it and get them put on these 2x4s. So you may have noticed what happened was I took the nail idea from him, because he showed marking all his lines with little nails. Worked really well with a ruler by myself. So I chalk lined first, knowing that wasn't going to be permanent, and then put a nail less than 6 feet apart, because that's my ruler, 6 feet, on those. And then I was like, you know what? This is 2021. This is the future. He laid it all out with pencil, but for the grid, I can just lay it out with permanent marker because it needs to be permanent. So why bother with a pencil? However, permanent marker on rough plywood doesn't work at all. I tried Sharpie, Milwaukee, big fat Sharpie, a pen, pretty much anything. And then I thought to myself, they've been doing this in boatyards for centuries now. Maybe they know what they're doing. And would you believe it? Incredibly, the pencil was the quickest and made the nicest lines with no hassle. So, moral of that story is, if some industry has been doing something successfully for centuries, maybe that's the best way to do it. Now I have to transfer these drawings, this one in particular, the side and the top will overlay down on this end, and down there, or maybe in the middle where the body's kind of open, all of the stations will be laid out on top of one another, a lot like the lines on like a ship's drawing. Again, this is all coming from laying out for a ship. So another thing I will note, this is 4x16, and it is already large enough that it is a huge pain to mark everything over the full length. So I cannot imagine, if you look at his videos on Lofting, he has like half of a shop my size covered with plywood to lay out the lines for his boat. The videos do not do it justice. I can't imagine how many tens or hundreds of hours he had lofting, because just this, like I said, this little tiny, in comparison, I'm like 4 hours in already. And I haven't even started the hard part. This is all easy. So, next up, we'll start, I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I'll probably do the same thing. I'll probably put nails in where I know they go. Like, so straight lines, I'll put the nails in and draw them on. And then where it's curved, I'll probably do the same thing as he shows in his video. So I'll cut some battens anywhere there's curves. And then what you do from his video is, like, say back here, you want this to be a nice gracious curve. So you mark points in it where you're pretty sure where it is. And then you put a batten in there, which is fairly flexible. And then it gives you a nice steady curve, which is what we want. Because especially like on these sides, we'll want a fairly stiff one to make this a nice, beautiful sweep like it's supposed to be on the car. And same way on these, we'll want a nice little flexible one for these sharper corners on the stations. And I don't know what these are all called for cars. I am using the terms for a boat because that's where I learned this. So, in today's 1930 Grand Prix shipyard build, we're lofting out a Grand Prix car using centuries-old shipwright technology. Future. So it's the next day. It's approximately 2.7 million degrees Kelvin. So that's nice. The paint dries really quickly in this kind of weather. But luckily it's that dry heat, so you know, there's that. So I'm going to have the fan running and do my best to not die of incineration. It's hot. Even I got my civvies on. It's still. I think it's 106 outside. It's truth. love this right here. This turned out so nice. And I am so excited right now. So, whoops. This is just beautiful. The batten technique works so well. It helps you, like here you can see these, I had a nail here, and then with the batten, you could tell that for the curve to be nice, it had to come out here 1/4 of an inch or so. There's a couple of places on the car that were like that. Back here I think was one as well. Yeah, this guy, you can see for this curve to be nice. But that is this. And the only thing I changed is right up here on this dorsal fin. You can see that mark, hopefully. That nail right there would have been the original line. I raised it probably 3 inches so that the car is 40 inches tall through there. And that will make the fin big enough to be able to put a roll hoop and have enough room for a cage out here to be enough as well. This nose is just so beautiful. Like, this is what made me love these cars, was this big, a book I have calls it Pugnacious, and it is just this big beautiful bull nose sticking out here, and then this beautiful curve into the cockpit. So the cockpit is the 19 inches to the rail here, and we're at 31 at the very front. So at the front here, I guess I'm gonna call it a hood. I don't know, because technically the motor's back there, but 31 inches tall through here, and then you got this big sweeping just loveliness out here. And then back here, like I said, it's 40 inches tall to there. It was like 37.5, but I bumped that up just a bit. And because this line is just uninterrupted straight all the way back here to the tail, it just increases the angle of that, and it's really not noticeable. So I will say, like in Leo's video, I don't know if you can see or not, but there's already smudges everywhere on here. So I'm gonna have to go over it with like a damp towel, clean it up in between passes. Here you can see also something that you don't really notice from the pictures, but I mean, you can pick up on it if you're really paying attention. Starting right here, this is section F in the, this right here. This is the F station. From F all the way back here to the tail where this curve starts is actually not flat. I thought the whole bottom of the car was flat, but it is not. It's flat back to the gas tank basically, and then the tail starts tucking up underneath all the engine and transmission and stuff. So, I am done. Here are all of the stations. They fit out pretty nicely, most of them outside of the body in the back. There's a top-down view and a profile. You can see I have labeled all these. A, B, C, D, E, and F are my stations. Up here, for the tops of C, D, and E, I had to modify this because this is where we raised that fin. So what I did was I figured out the size of my roll hoop and the radius that it will be bent at, and then added half of the diameter to get the outside diameter, set my calipers to that, and then drew these off based off of that, and then kind of just molded these lines back in. So those might need a little bit more work right in that area, but we'll see. It's hard to tell until I get started on the actual buck. But this thing gets filthy really quickly. Like, I can't imagine having to actually walk on this thing while you're doing it like Leo has. This is so cool seeing it full size, which I know you don't get to, but I am. And you can see how tall the car is, how big the car is, how much room you got. She's just a hair over 3 feet wide. She's you can see out here she comes past our 6-inch line, so she's like 3 foot and probably 3/4 wide at her widest point, which is right in through here around the driver, I believe. Yeah, you can see. Well, you probably can't because of the white balance. So that's gonna do it for this video. It was a lot more work than I was anticipating. However, I'm really happy with the results, and I am super excited now because I can see the actual car. Not the actual car, but I can see what the car is going to be. It's not just drawings anymore. So that's it for this one. It is currently 11:50 p.m. and it's still about 173 million degrees Kelvin. So I'm going to call it a night, and probably won't be able to get us any sleep because I'll be thinking about this all night. But thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you like it. I mean, I'm trying to make this kind of a renaissance of Grand Prix cars. There's a bunch of guys building these 30s through 60s and 70s Grand Prix cars, and it's really cool to see them coming back to life. So it won't be a real auto union, but it'll be as close as I can make it. So I am rambling, but I am so pumped. So hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.